5 tips as the Bitcoin bull run begins. Many of us experienced a fantastic bull run in 2017 and a painful subsequent bear run in 2018. Hopefully we learned a few lessons along the way. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my 5 tips in order to maximize our portfolios and minimize our mental pain as we are hopefully transitioning into a bull run. Hi, I'm Tom from Crypto Gurus, and if you'd like to learn more, keep watching. Tip number 1 is make a plan but be nimble. Now that sounds like an oxymoron. How can you make a plan but at the same time be nimble? Surely those are opposing forces. I've seen many times in crypto when people are investing and the prices begin accelerating rapidly or falling rapidly, their emotions take over. Instead of being logical, calm investors, they become emotional, irrational investors. That is pretty much the worst thing you can do in any market, but especially a market where the prices do move so quickly. So the best thing to do is often to have an idea of what you want to do. It's to make a plan. It's to understand roughly when you want to get in and when you want to get out. If you don't have that plan, you're going to see the prices shooting up or shooting down and your emotions will take over. But at the same time, you want to be nimble. And what I mean by that is, as a crypto investor, I can hold my hands up and say, there are many occasions where I've got it wrong. I'm sure most people in crypto have experienced the same thing. The key is to not be so set in one plan that we can't adjust. Yes, it's good to have a plan, but when that plan isn't going well, you have to be able to reevaluate and take your ego away from the situation and be able to say, look, I was wrong. This is how I think it's best to move forwards. And then you're able to create a new plan. So what I'm essentially saying is it's good to have a plan, but at the same time, you want to constantly reassess that plan and ask yourself, is it still working for me? If it's not, throw away your ego and be willing to create a new one. Tip number 2, take profits. In the last bull run, many people made life-changing sums of money and then lost it. What is the point of making a life-changing sum of money if you don't cash anything out? Now, I understand the temptation that people want to be in the bull run for as long as possible. And quite frankly, it is impossible to pick when it will peak and when it will hit the bottom. Therefore, a good strategy is to take gradual profits as you go along. If you ever get into a situation where you have a life-changing sum of money in crypto, it is a good idea to cash out a certain percentage. Now, whatever that percentage is will depend on your risk tolerance. For me, for example, I'm relatively young, and if things go completely terribly from now on and crypto somehow goes to zero, I'm young enough that I'm okay with that. I can bounce back. If you're near retirement age, you need to have a different risk tolerance. If you have a mortgage, you need to have a different risk tolerance. You need to assess your own personal situation and ask yourself, how much are you okay with making? But at the same time, how much are you okay with losing? If you ever see your portfolio go into the stratosphere and you have incredible sums of money in crypto, ask yourself the question, are you okay with losing it? If you are, then maybe it's okay to let it ride. If you're not, it's probably time to take some of those profits. Many people ask themselves one question, which is, am I happy if it continues going higher? But they forget to ask themselves the question, are they happy if it goes lower? And they might lose a large percentage of their holdings. Don't be that person. Hopefully we've learned from the last bull market followed by a painful bear market that just as things can go up, they can also go down. Tip number 3 is to understand market dynamics. I've said in several videos before that I have a business background. I studied a master's in business at university. And so when I came into crypto for the first time, I focused heavily on the fundamentals. I would do 4,000 word reports on just about everything that the project was trying to do. And I would assess details such as token velocity. Now, I'm not going to explain token velocity in this video. I don't think it's necessary. Let me just say this about it. I think that it's so influential that over the next 10 years, we're going to see 95% of utility tokens trend to zero because of token velocity alone. That is incredibly impactful. And yet, after a while, I came to realize that most people don't understand token velocity. And if most people don't understand token velocity, they're probably not factoring it into their investing decisions. So while I was looking at certain projects and saying, that's terrible token velocity, I won't go near it, many people weren't doing the same. And as a result, the prices of those tokens would sometimes increase. This is where you have to understand your time frame. If you are a long-term investor, fundamentals will reign out. Fundamentals are king in the long term for any market. They will eventually push out everything like hype and marketing, which are important in the short term, and fundamentals will be the most important factor. So if you're a long-term investor, it's important to understand things like token velocity and how token use case is such an important element. But if you're a short-term investor, unfortunately, and it pains me to say it, many people don't understand token velocity or even sometimes token use case. So those things can be outweighed by things like hype, marketing, and speculation. Now, it does sound stupid, I agree. I came into the market and I thought it was all about fundamentals. I wish it was. But the truth is, I've invested for the short term with an outlook of just fundamentals, and it wasn't anywhere near as successful as when I began factoring in market dynamics. And what I mean by market dynamics is understanding what causes prices to move and then trying to spot those patterns in other projects. So, for example, things like hype, marketing, and speculation are so important that if you want to be a short-term investor, it is naive to overlook the importance of those for your short-term portfolio. Try to understand how the market moves, not just how it should move, and you'll be able to understand short-term movements in this market far better as a result. Tip number 4, save up but don't over-invest. Now, you might have realized the background behind me is very different to what it's been in the past. That is because I have moved out of my previous place and I have moved into London. I am not paying rent. I am living with my dad. And I'm going to show you guys a picture, in fact, of my TV on the screen at the moment and my car. Now, as a crypto influencer, this probably surprises you. I'm living with my family. I have a TV that is about 10 years old and a car which is 11 years old. Why? Because I think there is a short-term opportunity here, which is something we're likely to never see again in our lives. I believe that Bitcoin is going to increase to something like $50,000 over the next couple of years. Now, that's a speculative bet, and I could well be wrong. But if you're watching this video, it's likely you think something similar could occur as well. Bitcoin at its current valuation is $8,000. So if it gets a 6 times return, that brings it near to 50,000. If I believe that something can increase 6 times over the next couple of years, I could spend £500 to get myself a new TV, or I could wait 2 years and have £3,000 in the bank by just investing into Bitcoin, let alone all of the opportunities which are likely to be created below Bitcoin in the altcoin sections as Bitcoin increases in value. It's essentially a situation where you can have a short-term win by buying yourself nice things, or you can have potentially a much larger long-term win. If you believe crypto is going to go to zero, or you don't think it's going to increase much in the next few years, this doesn't apply to you. However, if you do think it is, it's a question of asking yourself, am I willing to save up so that I can potentially have a larger portfolio in the future by sacrificing things in the short term? But here's the key factor, and I say don't over-invest. Now, I don't mean save up as in cut back on paying your mortgage. I don't mean the key fundamental things that you need to take care of your life. I'm talking about frivolous purchases. I'm talking about a TV. I could get a better TV, but I don't really need one. I could have a nicer car, but I don't really need one. If you need something in your life, that's very different. You should not be delaying those things. Those things are important to your fundamental living. If something is, as I say, frivolous, then it could be worth considering, am I willing to give it up for a few years for the potential return here? I also say don't overinvest, because as often as myself and other crypto influencers tell people, don't invest more than you can afford to lose, I speak to many people and they do just that. I beg them not to, and yet people take far too much risk in this market. I've spoken to some people who took out a 50 times leveraged position when Bitcoin was sat at $6,000. They told me there's no way it can go below this. It's already corrected around 70%. They were wrong. And unfortunately, they were liquidated in their positions. So all of the money they had on Bitcoin increasing in value is now gone. So Bitcoin could hit $50,000 and they might not make any profits as a result. They were correct that Bitcoin is going to increase, but they mistimed it because they took too much risk and they weren't able to see that risk through to the end. They were right about the long-term trend, and yet they might not benefit as a result. I think there's many things you can be wrong about in this industry that do suck, but that might be the single biggest one. To be right about this in the long term, but to not even make any profit. Tip number 5, don't talk about Lambos. This applies to Teslas too, or any nice cars. Please just don't do it. We know from the last bull run that it's very easy to get carried away. I did the same myself. But we also know from the last bull run, followed by the bubble bursting, that if we are in another bubble type situation, we're probably going to have another 85% correction. So while it's very easy to get carried away and for when something goes up, you think it will never stop, the truth is it's probably likely to correct a significant amount. Now we are in this very, very early. So if you invest right now, I personally invested very recently again into Bitcoin, I think it's likely that the correction will probably bring us down to a level, maybe something like what we are right now, which means there's huge profit potential on the way up. And if we can take some profits, we can maximize our portfolios. But we have to accept that we don't know when the bull market is going to end. And if it is a rapid bull market, a bubble-like situation, it's probably going to drop severely very shortly afterwards. So what I would recommend is, number 1, don't talk about Lambos or Teslas. It just sounds douchey and no one outside of crypto likes it. And number 2, it's very easy to look at your portfolio on a daily basis and to get it in your head that that's the new value. You might start at £5,000 and by the end of this bull market, you might have £50,000. And if you log on and you think 50,000 is the true value, it's very painful to watch it drop maybe 20% the following month when the bubble bursts. It's a good idea to think about what you started with and then to think about, as I say, your risk tolerance and a level of money that you are happy with. That's what it's all about. It's not about trying to buy Lamborghinis, trying to buy Teslas. And to be honest with you, there's so much more in crypto about changing the world as well that is truly amazing. But I am approaching this conversation purely from the investing side of things. I go into those things a lot in other videos. I'm really just talking about your portfolio at the moment. So be humble and stack sats. That's the best advice anyone can give. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more content just like this, hit the subscription button. And don't forget to hit that little bell symbol next to it. Otherwise, YouTube will not give you any notifications. From Tom here at Crypto Gurus, thank you for watching. We will speak again soon.